Hey guys, Caleb Giddings here from Gun Nuts Media, and today is November 4th, 2020, the day after the presidential election. And if you're watching this at some time in the great far future, I hope you know who the president is, because I don't. Now, with that being said, we are not going to be talking about politics today. In fact, that's the last thing I want to talk about, so instead we're going to talk about something I love: revolvers. Specifically, why do I hold my gun with a thumbs forward grip? To illustrate what I'm talking about, and the reason why I'm addressing this, is somebody left a comment yesterday and said, why are you holding your gun like that? And it's a question that I've been asked before, something I've written articles about, something I've talked about, and something I've debated with my friend Daryl Bolke about in the past, is the way I hold this gun and why I hold it the way I hold it. So to show you what I'm talking about, we have here the Modern Fighting Revolver. This is my 586 L comp. It's also loaded. Not anymore. So now, I want to show you guys what I'm talking about. So when people say a thumbs forward grip, what they mean is that I hold this pistol, this revolver, almost the exact same way I would hold a semi-automatic pistol. I have a large space here for my support hand to fit in. My support hand comes down like this. My support thumb rides right here under the cylinder, and my strong hand thumb wraps over the top of my gun like that. The disadvantage to this grip is it leaves a bit of a gap here at the back of my hands, but there are advantages to it, and there are reasons why I choose to grip the gun this way. Now, to be perfectly honest, one of the reasons why I grip the gun this way is because when I first started shooting revolvers, I had primarily and really only been shooting semi-automatic pistols, and this is how you grip a semi-automatic pistol. You go thumb over thumb with your support thumb pointed forward somewhere along the frame or the slide or something like that. That's the most modern and, as we've seen, most effective way to grip a semi-automatic handgun. So for me, it was natural when I first started shooting guns like this to want to adopt a grip that was similar to me, as opposed to the more traditional thumb over thumb grip that you see here. Now, there are lots of people who use the thumb over thumb grip, most notably some guy named Jerry Michalek, who is the greatest revolver shooter to ever live. And that's a big part of that, is because that's how he was taught from the get-go. I actually think that for the applications that I use a revolver for, the way I hold it is better. But I'm also not going to argue with your results. If you've been using thumb over thumb your entire life and you're getting good results and you're fast on target and quick with recoil and all of these other things, you do you, boo. I don't necessarily, this isn't something I'm super dogmatic about, and a big part of that is because of all of the conversations I've had with people I respect about it. So for me, the big reasons that I do this is I believe it gives me an advantage in two key areas. One, recoil management, and two, keeping the gun tracking straight during an aggressive trigger press. Let me explain. One of the things that makes you able to more effectively control recoil on a handgun is maximizing what's called surface contact area. You want to have as much of your hand in contact with as much of the gun as possible. That's a big part of the reason why we grip guns the way that we do, and why I like grips like these VZ grips, like the grips I have on my Rugers, etc., is because they allow me to get a lot of surface contact area, and more importantly, they allow a lot of surface contact area for my support hand. So what happens is when I set up my master grip, my thumb's up here, my support hand comes in here, and all of this stuff where normally my support hand wouldn't be touching the gun, now I have contact with the gun, and that contact helps keep the gun flat and level when I'm shooting it rapidly. The other thing I like about it is I use a lot of trigger finger. So some guys will say only put the pad of your finger on the trigger like that. I actually will usually go all the way up to the first joint of my trigger finger. So I'm pulling it not with the pad, but I'm pulling it with this joint, and I can still pull it straight back and get a perfectly reliable trigger pull and all of that things. It doesn't actually matter nearly as much as you think what part of the trigger you're pulling it with, so long as you're pulling it back in a straight line. Now, one of the things that happens, though, that can happen when I use a lot of finger on the trigger, is I can drive the gun to my left because I'm trying to shoot really quick. And if I use a locked thumb over thumb grip with all of this finger on the trigger, I will often push the gun left because I don't have any force in place to counteract that pushing motion with my index finger. So what I started doing was I plant my support thumb right here on the side of the frame. And my support thumb, because of the way my wrists are aligned, because of the way everything's set up, is driving the gun to the right and also counteracting that pushing motion to the left from my trigger finger. So everything comes together in one harmonious motion to keep the gun tracking nice and straight. Again, this is not something I am dogmatic about by any means. This is a method of gripping the gun that is based off my prior experience with semi-automatic pistols that works with the way I interact with the gun. Everybody's got different size hands, everybody's got different shapes of fingers and all of these other things, and this may not actually work for you. And even I, who am a big advocate of it as a way to shoot a revolver, I don't do it with 100% of my revolvers. Certainly with a medium or large frame revolver like this Ruger GP100 Match Champion, which also has large enough grips to allow me to again set up that master grip, get lots of surface contact area, and use that support hand thumb to steer the gun in the direction I want it to go, I absolutely will use a thumbs forward grip. And I'll even use it on some of my smaller guns, like my personal carry gun, this Ruger LCR. And the reason I can do this with the LCR is because of the grips that I have on the LCR are the large Crimson Trace grips. Because I choose the 3-inch LCR as a carry gun versus the 2-inch gun, this isn't really a pocket gun. It's a belt gun, and so since I'm going to carry it on my belt, I put big usable grips on it, which while they're smaller than my GP100 or my 586 L-Comps grips, they're still big enough for me to get sufficient surface contact area and for me to get my thumb right in this place right here under the cylinder so that the gun stays flat and stays on target. But, like I said, I don't do it with all guns. I don't do it with my teeny tiny little J-frame here, the 351 PD, and the reason I don't do it with the 351 PD is because the overall size of the gun makes it very difficult for me to get my thumb down here and get a good grip without placing my thumb forward of the cylinder gap, which is, on a gun like this, not dangerous. On a larger gun, it is dangerous. And that's the other area where I want to caution people. If you're shooting something like a 500 Magnum or a 460 or a 454 Casull or something like that, I'll use the traditional thumb over thumb locked down grip because I don't want my thumb anywhere near the cylinder gap when you've got such a high pressure round out of it. I also won't use this grip technique if I'm shooting a Chiappa Rhino revolver because of the way the grip on it's set up. It absolutely puts your thumb right next to the cylinder gap, which is also on the bottom of the gun on the Rhinos. So I don't use it 100% of the time. I use it on medium frame revolvers, I use it on competition revolvers, and it works great on those. It works great on the Ruger LCR, but it doesn't work great on my J-frame. And obviously I don't use it if I'm shooting something like a 500 Magnum or a 454 Casull or something like that. It's not a I do this because it's the best way. I do this because it is a way. And in this instance, it is a way that is serving my goal of winning matches. And it's done pretty well for me, seeing as I finished in the top 5 in revolver division at IDPA Nationals like 5 or 6 times. So I would say that the thumbs forward grip on a revolver, it works for me. I'm Caleb Giddings. Thanks for watching.